Hello, this is Steve Keller. I'm here with my beautiful daughter, Aaliyah Keller. Say hi.
Hello, everybody.
Yes, I married very well. She's got a pretty mama. Anyways, today actually I want to talk about one of my favorite subjects is working with young kids and teenagers doing emotional healing work. I'm a certified emotion code and body code practitioner. Basically think, inner healing meets quantum physics type thing. And that's about 10 years I've been doing this. Really first started practicing on my family, all you wonderful children. And because I had to help them from the parents they had to grow up with. No, just kidding. We're perfect parents. But I just want to talk a bit about why it's one of my favorite things to do is work with children, what some of the benefits are, kind of what you look for occasionally. So I've been doing it for about 10 years with kids, with many kids. Certain patterns, certain benefits. One of the things of doing it with kids is you get a huge return on investment because you can kind of change the trajectory of someone's emotional life at an early age, and they end up at a lot different place than having to work with them when they're in their 40s and 50s. One thing to understand, too, is that a lot of times with kids at, say, 6 years old, kids tend to, and this is just based on almost a decade of experience of working with a lot of people and children, is at about 6 years old, kids kind of look around their environment and, hi, Cecilia, nice to see you. Anyways, kids kind of look around their environment and they make a lot of I am, people are, life is decisions. So what you'll find is that kids will, they make kind of brutal judgments on themselves and on life at 6. I find that especially if, say, for example, there's problems in the marriage. A lot of times what you'll see is young kids, if there's a problem in the marriage or the marriage fails, it's like this weird thing is like they assume that they're like a licensed family and marriage counselor and that they've dropped the ball, right? It's just this crazy thing, but you see it over and over and over and over and over again. Really, I don't think I've ever worked with someone who had drama in their parents' marriage, who at a young age didn't somehow actually blame themselves. And so what you can do is if you catch this at a fairly young age, you can rewire these judgments and these kind of blown emotional fuses that have happened. Typically, a lot of them are related to how they get their value. Okay, if you have one parent who is kind of brutal and harsh and judgmental, the kids can really be severely impacted by that long term. Anyways, I just want to kind of talk a bit about some of the things we've done together, because all my children, even the ones who don't want to be on video today, they're always asking me, Daddy, I need a session. I need to work on some things, which I'm so happy that they're aware of when things are off for them emotionally and they want help, and they love doing it with me, so it's fun to do. So Allie, kind of tell me a few of the things you have recently asked me to work on, and kind of what's, as a teenager and as a young kid, what's it like? I mean, you have to do a lot of talking. Is it fairly painless? I mean, what's the experience like for you?
So I got the opportunity to go to Six Flags with a large group of my friends from my church, and it was like a super fun thing. It was going to be, we were going to spend the night, and then we were going to like watch movies and then go to Six Flags in the morning. And when I heard about it, I was like, no, I'm not going, because I hated roller coasters. I mean, like, seeing videos of people going on roller coasters would stress me out. Like, going on super, curvy hills and stuff like that, like in, San Francisco or, Colorado would, stress me out riding in the car. Yeah. And I was like, there's no way I'm going. I'm definitely not going, because people are going to want me to go on the roller coasters with them. They're going to be like, oh, you should do it. It's no big deal. But, for me, it was, a really big deal. And I was like, Dad, I need you to do some work with me. I have, lots of issues. And yeah. So we were able to, work on that and then make it go from, not even, to where I didn't even want to think about going on roller coasters, to where I was like, okay, maybe I'm still not a roller coaster person. Maybe it's not my favorite thing in the world, like my brother and my sister.
Yeah.
but the thought of going on a roller coaster isn't like worse than death or like public speaking or something like that. So
what was interesting when we worked on that with you, all these kind of blown trapped emotional fuses came up at, what was it, like 6?
Like 5.
5 and 6, and some of them were like, oh yeah, that's the last time we went to Six Flags together. And so it was kind of residual impact from the first time you had done with that. So how was your trip to Six Flags?
It was super fun. I went on a couple of roller coasters, not like any super crazy ones because I'm not an adrenaline junkie, but I was able to like have fun and enjoy myself and not be like panicked the whole time that I was there at Six Flags.
Yeah, awesome. You know, so some of the things I've worked with teenagers that have been super effective, and I will say it almost seems like teenagers are easier to work on. You know, sometimes the parents are like, oh, they're so hard to deal with. It's like, no, in terms of what I do, it can be super accurate because you don't have to get the teenagers to talk about what's going on. I remember one of my friends, she asked me to work with her son who was dealing with a pot smoking habit. He was skipping school. There was major issues, trauma in his parents' relationship, and he was having major problems. And the funny comment he made to his mom, he goes, well, that's some weird witchcraft, but he was totally accurate. And his mom is like, yeah, you did one session for him, and the issue totally resolved itself. You know, so sometimes we deal with kids with major social anxiety, like don't want to go to school at all. And sometimes it can be, you know, trapped emotional issues, energetic issues, and sometimes it's like, you know what, your kid needs like a lot of fish oil. Because sometimes, you know, your brain needs so many nutrients just to function properly. Sometimes it's actually a fairly simple fix of just getting the right nutrients in the kids. Other times, you know, recently I had the privilege of working with a friend on her daughter who was dealing with a lot of fear and anxiety just in general, that stuff would go wrong. And she also noticed a lot of kind of communication issues, like sometimes she'd be spot on in terms of her ability to communicate and focus, and other times it was like, she's like, hello, where'd my kid go? And it was fascinating what we tracked down. So this kid was about 8 years old, and the really main thing that happened was we tracked down I kept on saying, okay, well, what's this thing at 3? What's this thing at 3? And Mom was initially like, I'm not sure, I don't remember. And then she was like, oh my goodness, I do remember one thing. She goes, we had come home. I had the 3-year-old and her younger brother, and I got out of the car, and our dog was with us, and all of a sudden, a neighbor's dog got away and attacked our dog, like 5-minute dog fight. And I had like 2 kids. I'm trying to deal with it. Anyways, the daughter had like PTSD level experience with what happened. And, you know, as a parent, you're like, oh, you know, a few minutes later, okay, the kid seems fine. No, the kid was not fine. And like for, you know, that was the primary thing 5 years later was still that. It had caused a PTSD level anxiety and fear in her. And it also, one of the things it had caused was kind of brain integration issue. And we resolved all that. Took us about an hour, and the mom messaged me. She was like, oh, wow, kid's massively different. I can tell. My mom can tell. My mother-in-law can tell. So you can see really huge results like that. Also, a lot of times what's very helpful is working with kids who've like had some sort of abuse or different things like that. It can be very, very effective because they don't have to kind of revisit and talk about the whole thing all over again. And that can be very helpful because you can really go right to it and reset these fuses. The other thing that I will say is, especially if you have, say, for example, teenage daughters, one trend I'm seeing over the years of doing this over and over and over is not so much boys, but definitely young girls at about 15. They'll look around and they will look to relationships, either from a boyfriend or female friends. They'll look to those relationships to give them their value and identity. And so at that age, if there's significant social issues, it massively blows fuses for people. And so if you have teenagers that are that age, and you've seen them having social issues with boyfriend, stress, social anxiety, different things like that, that's a huge thing to fix, because it can impact people massively long term. Anyways, you have anything else to add?
One thing that I would say that I feel like is important is that I think sometimes it's easy for teenagers to like see their parents being busy and like, my emotional issues aren't that, it's not like they're not that important, to not like ask for someone to take time out to help you and stuff like that. And so that's one thing that I really appreciate is when I do a session with my dad, I don't have to tell my dad all the awkward situations, I don't have to tell him about all the awkwardness and all the boy drama, I can just tell him, Dad, I'm having like some issues. Can you help me fix that? And then it's not like a long drawn out awkward conversation with your father, it's just like quick and easy, and it really leads to some massive results. So
you don't have to, you don't have to kind of get dragged back through the mud to get cleaned up. That's kind of how I explain it. Talk therapy often they're like, oh, let's talk about it. And like, it wasn't comfortable the first time around. It's not going to be comfortable talking about it too. So you can get very specific and reset some things, and it's super helpful that way. So also very helpful I found in dealing with health issues. A lot of times you can have different physical issues, or sometimes kids will be like, oh, my stomach's hurting, or this is going, or that is going on, and you can find out kind of what portion of the issue is emotionally based, and maybe what portion of it you've got to change diet or add supplements or different things like that. So you can kind of fine tune things really easily. So anyways, I appreciate you sharing. Anything else to add?
No, I think that's
all right. So if anyone has any questions, let me know. I'm going to also share this with some other practitioners. So if a different practitioner has shared this with you, any good certified emotion code or body code practitioner can be a huge help to your kids. And sometimes the younger the better, because the faster you can reset some things, it can make a massive difference in people's lives and kind of the direction they're headed. So appreciate all you people. Have a great weekend. Thanks.